The first 5 years of a child's life is the most important time. All the brain synapses are firing at that point, they're connecting, they're making lifelong moments that are going to change. Those first 5 years can dictate a lot of what happens in the rest of your life. Messy play is, it does what it says on the tin, it is exploring with their whole body, getting as messy as possible.
So anyway, but welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
It's lovely to see you. I've kept my hoodie on today, but it's a bit nippy, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit.
I think before we start with the story, let's introduce who you are. So would you like to introduce?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Jess Davies. I'm 26, 27 in like 3 weeks. And I am the founder and owner of Messy Babes, Messy Play sensory classes. So I've been doing that now for just over 2 years. So I started in 2022 after working in nurseries for 4 years and working before that in provisional education for children with additional needs. So I did that from 15 and then went to nurseries and now this. So literally been with kids since since I was a kid almost.
Right.
And then, so the classes I'm hoping is going to branch out further. Currently we go from 5.5 months to 4, but I want to sort of branch out into having things either side of that eventually as well, but it's still in very early stages.
Okay, but guess what? That's where these things start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And it was lovely actually. So when we had that sort of Instagram conversation, wasn't it really about, do you want to jump on? Well, in fact, I think you reached out, didn't you?
Yes, I'd seen the Guardian. Yes, I'd seen it in the Guardian, and then thought, right, okay, let's just.
What did you see? Did you see was it online?
There was an article, online on so I follow the Guardian page on Facebook because they do a lot of like the local, like best of. So I've been nominated twice now for best of kids providers in Warrington.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you. So I always follow like everything, all the stuff they do on that. So they'd shared an article about yourselves. I thought, well, let's give it a go and drop you a message.
So what did you expect?
I didn't know. I'll be honest, I did not know. I just thought I'll send a message and I'll see what happens. Like either they're going to say, we don't want you and we don't want to listen to what you've got to say, or, something exciting's coming from it. So it was just a bit of a jump into the deep kind of thing.
Well, good for you though.
Thank you.
And I really hope that the story you have, I'm sure will come through.
Thank
and of
you.
course we're supporting all local businesses.
Which is amazing because it's so difficult to get off the ground, and especially working on your own. I have amazing people around me that help, but I am the only one really that's responsible for it. It gets a bit lonely sometimes as well, being like, I don't have anyone to go and be like, I need to vent about this today, about something that's happened in class. It's because you haven't really got it's not like when you work for a company and you've got 4 or 5 other team members kind of thing. It's just me, like just trying my best kind of thing.
But the thing is that even with that, right, the group you're now with, so you'll notice that I sneak onto the local heroes onto our network, and the idea behind it is genuinely, maybe we can share stuff. So I don't know, there might be a Jimmy who said, actually, we could probably use that person from that nutritionist person over here and whatever else, right? Or buy a T-shirt or whatever it might well be. But also to provide that that business support between us all of us who come on Local Heroes are all on our own, and we all run a business, right?
Yeah.
And from that are challenges. A lot of them sort of talk about how difficult it is, probably even with Instagram, right? What you have to do all the time for that.
Absolutely.
Even the way in which you manage your accounting, whatever it might well be, there are many, many things behind running a small business which perhaps can get overlooked.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of things you don't think about. When I started the class, I think I was very naive in thinking that, okay, I'm just going to run a class then. Like, just one day I'll find a venue, I'll find all my people that'll do it, and I'm doing it. And I didn't think about social media and, the accounting side of it, just everything else that suddenly hits you and you go, whoa, okay, it wasn't as easy as just, I'm going to do a class today, because that's what I did, I just woke up and went, I'm going to do it. And it kind of wasn't that smooth sailing.
So do you want to explain what Messy Babes is?
Yeah, so Messy Babes is a messy play and sensory class. So it's messy play it does what it says on the tin. It is exploring with their whole body, getting as messy as possible. So the first 5 years of a child's life is the most important time.
Is that 0 to 5 or 5 to 10?
Yes, 0 to 5. Yeah, 0 to 5. Sorry. all the brain synapses are firing at that point. They're connecting. They're making lifelong moments that are going to change. Those first 5 years can dictate a lot of what happens in the rest of your life. And so our class is looking at incorporating everything into that development. So something that children might not get, as daft as it might seem, of sitting in a big tray of rice, which is one of the ones we always do in the big tough trays we use, but all the different things that they're developing via doing that can set them up for life in certain aspects. So the fine motor skills of picking things up, the gross motor skills of scooping stuff, and the socialising with the child sat next to them, everything is all linked into that development. And I'm an ex-nursery practitioner and an ex-nursery room leader, so I ran the baby room at the nursery I used to work at. So I've got the background of all of this sort of the scientific, so to speak, elements of it that I want to bring into just come and enjoy an hour. Mums, come and put your kid in this messy tray and you sit back for an hour and let them have all of these amazing connections and amazing developmental moments whilst they're sat in jelly or whilst they're sat in sand. And it's a lot of stuff that parents don't want to do at home. Absolutely do not blame them. The amount of mess that we have to clean up at the end of a class, no, you don't want to do that in your kitchen or your living room, but they can come and have those experiences without the parents having to do that at home then. And that's kind of where it all started, was that people used to say at nursery how amazing it is that their kid does body painting, but they're not doing it at home. And it's like, no, absolutely. So we're going to bring something like that to kind of the local area. So there is a couple of other classes in the Northwest that do a similar thing to us, but no one was doing it in Warrington, which is kind of what then we thought, right, well, I'll give it a go then, and I know it works. I know they love it. I've seen firsthand the kids at nursery and stuff that they absolutely love it, and it's clear kind of see after the classes as well. There's no one that leaves regretting coming, kind of thing.
So what do parents expect then? So if let's just say that we've got some young parents who are listening now, and they will be, and they'll be particularly interested in the sensory piece, I would have thought. What is it they're going to expect? So why would a child come to you?
Yeah, so it's all about those new experiences that they might not necessarily get at home. So it's the new textures, the new tastes, because we have a lot of taste safe trays, which basically is what it says on the tin as well. It means they can eat it if they wanted to. They also try all the ones that aren't taste safe as well, but they're all non-toxic, so it's all good. They can come and they can explore all 5 of their senses via the activities that we've got set up. So I don't think parents ever really know what they're getting in for, kind of thing. A lot of them come to class and go, I didn't know it was this messy, like, because it is messy, but that's the whole point, that we've got that element of it. And even the social aspect as well, we've got parents that met each other via a Messy Babes class who are still friends now, and their kids are growing up together, and I'm friends with them, so I'm getting to see their kids grow up. And it's such a nice little community that we've managed to create especially within my Stockton Heath class that's been running the longest. You know, there's people there that I've seen them have multiple children, so it's, you see the whole family kind of thing. So they can come and they can have, like, exploring all those different elements, all those different senses. And especially if they don't go to nursery as well, they might not get that necessarily at home. Other parents might not know where to start. That's often a big one. They go, we'd love to do it, but how do you start? Like, where do you decide when the right thing to do is with this? So they get that. A lot of them then go home and do like a lower level one at home, so slightly less messy, but they can still bring it to the house as well, which I think is amazing. That gives them some ideas too.
Does it relieve, is there stress involved, do you think, where it relieves for the child, so it just allows them just to explode?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely. Obviously, can't speak for them, but 100%, because it's that element of you're not going to get told off for pretty much anything you do here, like within reason. But any mess style stuff, you do what you want. You paint your whole body blue, do it. You want to go and roll in jelly, do it. Like, it's them. They decide, and that's something that we wanted to incorporate as well, is that autonomy over what they want to do, especially as they get to like the terrible twos, so to speak, and that toddlerhood. So much of what is, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do this. You have to do what mummy's saying. You have to, and for that hour that they're at class, it's like, okay, go on then, like go for it. You don't have to listen right now to not getting messy or not getting dirty. It's go and do it, and then we'll clean you up at the end and move on. But for this hour, go and get stuck in.
There's a lot to be said about exploration through play.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this sounds like it's like proper play. And what I mean by that is it's imagine that you're in a field. Well, a child's going to go and leg it to a muddy and jump in it, aren't they? That's what they're going to do.
Absolutely.
And it might be, oh no, don't get your trousers. Oh no,
yeah, it's happened.
Right. And so you're sort of encouraging that exploration in play, where they don't have to worry about getting messy and everything else, and sort of
full body exploration. That's what we aim to do. Is literally from your head to your toes. Everything is explored.
And how does it work with the communication between all the kids then? Do they just sort of all just muck in?
Pretty much, yeah. So they're all a lot of our kids that we have coming are sort of between 6 months and sort of 2.5, 3. That's kind of our predominant age at the minute. So they're all sort of taking part in side-by-side play. They're not necessarily playing together because that's not their developmental stage yet. So yeah, you'll often see in our pictures that we share and stuff, the tray's quite big and there's 6 or 7 babies sat in it. No one's looking at each other, but they're all just playing together in like the same thing. And some of them now that have got like older siblings that still come and they'll have their older brother playing with them, or the big sister comes and plays with them. It's so lovely. But as they get older, you can see them attempting to play with each other a little bit more, which is lovely. But half the time, it's just a tray full of babies, just doing their own thing.
But you're right though, when as children go through that certain age group, they begin to get, well, they become part of the institutional framework then, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's more difficult to explore
absolutely.
things like that.
The amount of older kids that we have sort of in the school holidays, we open it up to primary school age children as well, because I know how difficult. I'm a full-time nanny at the same time as this, so I've got twin 2-year-olds, a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old that I look after. Trying to find something that you can take all 4 of those, like that age group too, is so difficult. So in the holidays, we let big siblings come as well, and it's still very much, this is for the younger ones, but you go and get stuck in as well. And the amount of older kids that are like, well, can I stand in that, or can I put that on my face? And it's like, not that they've forgotten how to do it, but they're more apprehensive of doing it, of wanting to, whereas the babies have got no inhibitions about it. They've got no apprehension. It's just straight in. And the older ones they go very tentative, and you can see that change the older they get. And whether that's a personal thing and they get older, or whether it's from being in school and being in like an education system where you do as you're told almost a little bit, that they don't have that willingness to just go for it. But then after there's a little girl that I'm thinking of that she's been coming since she was 2. She's now in school, or 3, sorry. She's now in school, and her little sister now comes. So they both come in the school holidays, and she just goes for it. Like, she comes in and she's straight in. And mum's like, well, she's not forgotten how to do it. Like, she's just going for it.
So what are you spotting as the benefits of the service that you offer?
Yeah, so I think confidence is a massive one. The difference in a child that does their first week to the end of that 6-week block that they've come, they're like a different kid. They're so much more confident in what they want to do. They can go and get stuck in without sort of feeling like they have to have mum or dad near them. They're more confident interacting with other babies. They're more confident with myself. The amount of kids that and parents are like, oh no, they're normally dead happy, I'm sorry, and they won't give me a smile when they first come in. And I'm like, well, it's okay, they don't. I'm a total stranger, there's absolutely no need. And then by the 6 weeks, they're arms up for me to pick them up, or they want me to come and play with them in a tray. And I just think that confidence in doing what they feel they want to do, what their body wants to do, is amazing. I think that's so nice to watch develop.
So that's different to having to really concentrate on picking up a paintbrush and painting something.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
So what I mean, it's. I'm just going to dive into that bucket.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we have
put that on my head.
Yeah, we have all the tools available, but they're very, very, very rarely used. They want to use their hands, their feet, their bodies. They, until I saw a really, really cool quote on Instagram or something the other day that was, before a child ever picks up a pen, they should have done all of these things. And it's like, put their hands in sand and touch foam and squeeze jelly and all these things that your hands don't finish developing until, you're significantly older. And at 5 or younger, when they're being expected to hold a pen or a pencil, their hands haven't finished developing. And so doing sensory play and messy play is aiding that development in their hands, so that they can eventually, when they're ready, when the time comes, use a pen or a paintbrush or a sewing needle, whatever it is you want to use. But they've had that development first within all of the kind of sensory elements that we offer as well.
There's a lot of pressure on kids to be communicating at a younger age.
Yeah.
When I was born, for example, you'd go to play school, right?
Yeah.
And I still think there are play schools, but the difference was that there wasn't any pressure to have to write anything.
Yeah.
It was actually play school, and you sort of went into play and you just played.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
you didn't have like mud to jump in. As I would have loved that, by the way. But you played and interacted, and you understood some social. You learned some social cues and whatever else. I think from there. But then when my kids grew up themselves, of course, by the time they were 4, they need to be writing at 4, and then guess what? You got to do joined up writing at 5. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
and I just never. In fact, I'm convinced that my eldest son suffered badly from that because
Really?
he was trying to learn how to write, and he eventually got the confidence to write, but they were telling him that's wrong because you're not joining it up, and he was like, and I could see, but he's literally just learning how to write, and he was.
And also learning how to be a person. Like at that age, you are learning how to be a person at the same time as learning how to read and write and know all the kings of England and all the rest of it. You're just a little kid still. Like,
well, I was thinking about the reason why you would do that, and I wasn't sure when you said about the sensory. I thought, would these be children who perhaps have a need to have more sensory stimulation, for example, or whatever? And I'm not sure that it is. I think it's the same for all children.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, definitely. I think children with additional needs, which we've had a couple of children that do come to our classes or that have previously been to our classes, and it is amazing because it means that that element that they need, that they're craving, whether that's throwing things or jumping in things that they maybe can't get normally, they can get in a very non-judgmental way within our classes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's absolutely not just them that benefit from it, and it's not just them that have that need. If anything, children with additional needs just don't hide it, whereas neurotypical children maybe understand, oh no, I shouldn't do that, whereas children with additional needs, I'm doing it. Like, if I want to throw this rice, I'm going to do it, because they don't have those inhibitions almost that I think the older you get, you then develop. And it's just so nice. We've had children, as I say, that have been before, that just integrate and mingle so well with children with additional needs or children that are neurotypical, and it's not okay, well, that you're going on this side, you're going on this side kind of thing, and they all just join in together, and they all just get the benefits and everything from it all together. They don't need to, there's no like, oh well, you do it this way and you do it that way. They'll do it how they want.
Yeah, absolutely right.
You learn so much from watching the kids and from seeing how they interact and how they deal with things. I've worked with kids for so long. I just think they're incredible. I think it's amazing that they're just these fully formed little people, and they do what they want.
I did a little bit of research around. See, I've got a tick in my throat today. Oh, no. Just with what other countries do, and I think the mistake everyone's making is everyone's in competition with everybody else. So in other words, our children, our pupils they all have a second language by the time they're 7. Oh well, ours has it by the time they're 6 actually, and oh well, mine can write at 5. Oh, well, ours can do it at 4. I'm like, what are you doing? And it creates so much pressure. And I think there's a lot to be said about play, and I think and if they're allowed to play for longer. So I'm going to give you an example. Was in the Netherlands, where I'm not sure that they even pick up a pen until they're 7.
Yeah, I think that I've heard this or something. It's very nature school based and stuff, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And it isn't soft or anything. It's genuinely build up the communication skills first, and everybody learns who they are and all that lot. And then by the time but what happens is you have this. There's no pressure acceleration. So in other words, their ability to write and speak a language and everything else just accelerates, and so they actually find themselves ahead of the game by the time they get to 11. And that's because they spent 7 years just playing. I think there's so much, like, from working in a nursery, the amount of people that you just say, well, you just play with kids all day. You just, I worked in a baby room, so I could have from 3 months to 2 years. Well, you just play with kids. And I don't just do that. Trust me, I change nappies, I do bottles, I do all the rest of it. But of course, I play with kids. Like, that's what else are they supposed to do at 6 months other than play? Because that's how they learn everything. They don't.
they have no other way of learning everything apart from playing and apart from doing what they see other people doing and mimicking it, and all of that is because that's just instinctively what they're doing. They are learning via play. That doesn't mean it's any less integral or any less impressive than a child, like you say, who's learning a second language by the time they're 4. That's brilliant, but that's not at the detriment of the
whose
child.
measure is that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who's deciding what's more impressive? Like they're both impressive in very separate ways, but it doesn't diminish the child that's just playing, so to speak.
Well, I'm sort of seeing now, honestly, young kids who are exhausted, but even before they get to 10,
I agree.
You can see it, and you're like, everyone's under too much pressure.
Yeah.
Just because someone's saying, and I think that doesn't. Well, then I think the impression I was getting from the work that you're doing, that you've just created, is that that might help.
Yeah.
And if there was an acknowledgement that there was a genuine psychological and social reason why you probably want to do this first.
Yeah.
It's got to be that.
Yeah.
Everyone's burned out by the time they're 15.
100%, yeah, 100%. From personal experience, the whole reason Messy Babes started was I'd left jobs because I was done. I could not keep going at the rate that I was going at without making myself incredibly poorly. Ended up being signed off work. I was on medication. I was in extensive therapy. I was a very poorly person, and I truly believe a lot of it was from the pressures of the job and the jobs plural that I was in.
Mm-hmm.
And I left all of that to go and work in an amazing little cafe for 6 months, and then started Messy Babes. And the difference that I see personally in myself from the person I am now to the person I was 3 or 4 years ago is like I wouldn't, that person 3 years ago would not recognise this person now, because it's so different. And I'm so glad that I've managed to make Messy Babes out of that as well. And
which is a feat in itself,
yeah.
Right? So you've already got 2.
Yes, 2 classes.
And so could you just describe what a nervous parent or a confident parent, whatever, what they might expect for their child? So what does the place look like?
Yeah, so both of our classes are in church halls at the minute, just purely because that's where I could rent.
Mm-hmm.
So the main hall, you go into both of them. We've got 6 trays, so they're big. They're called tough trays. It's basically cement mixing trays. That's what the actual, if you want to Amazon it, that's what it's called. But they're big black trays, and that's where all of our activities are put into each of those trays. So I do different themes every single week. So this week's theme was animals. So all the trays are animal themed in some way. So we had chia seeds and frogs. We had painting today with using the animals' feet, like the plastic animals' feet, to do prints and things. So everything's themed. So you come in, normally people come straight to me and go, oh, I've never been before, I don't know what I'm doing, where do I go, kind of thing. And I have a little chat, explain what all the trays are. Normally I have a bit of a chat about allergies and things like that, because as I said, everything's going in everybody's mouth. So if you've got an allergy, normally I know prior to that anyway, but I can tell you what to kind of stay clear of or what to definitely go for. And then we do make sure we've got all the boring stuff, the paperwork and everything, permission slips and stuff out of the way, because I do use images on social media, so I get permission or not permission from everybody before we use anything. And then basically it's move at your own pace, go and get stuck in. So kids can either go fully clothed, or a lot of our younger ones just have a vest on, and that is like the designated Messy Babes vest. It comes back every week because it's just it's never purely clean again, so they just we'll just keep using that same one then. Yeah. I need to get merch. That needs to be my next step, is I need Messy Babes merch.
Merch.
Yeah. So they just kind of get stuck in however they want then. And I always make a point of being like, give us a shout if you need me, if you want me to come and explain what something is, if you want me to come and show you how to play in it, do it. But if you don't want to speak to me for the rest of this hour, don't. That's fine. If you want this hour to just be you and your kid, then that's fine. You do it that way. And there's no pressure. If they just want to stay in one tray for a whole hour, do it. It's their hour. You do how you want. A lot of the parents kind of, especially if the kids aren't moving yet, they do like 15 minutes. Okay, now go to the next tray. Now go to the next tray. And it's when they get a bit older and they're starting to move, it's like, well, they decide now. You just have to follow them because they're going to go in whatever tray they want. And then about 10 minutes before the end, we set up a little little plastic wash tub in the corner of the room. We have some bubble bath and nice warm water and cloths, and that's where they all go for a little bath afterwards, so that they can go home slightly, not perfectly clean, but slightly cleaner than the class ended. We also do loyalty cards, so for every class you do, you get a stamp on your card. When your card's full, you get a free session. So that hopefully encourages people then to keep coming back and come back and see us for more.
And I think those children with the, as you said, with the additional needs, as well as children who don't have additional needs, but at the end of the day, they don't know anything. They're all together.
Exactly, yeah.
And so they're probably getting some real benefit around, like when you sort of look someone in the eye, and they know what you're doing, even without saying it. I wonder whether or not it's something like that, and then they just share between each other.
I'd love to think so, yeah. I would love to think that there's kind of that unspoken.
It has to be.
Cool, we're just in a sand tray. Like, this is great.
Cool.
Do you want a bucket? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to think that is what's going on in the little thought processes that they're all having, because you do see them, all like, so they'll be having maybe a little bit of it, or there might be a fight going on here because they both want a spade, and you can see them both working it out, and they go, okay, you have that one, and I'll get this one instead, or I'll do it with my hands instead then, and you can see all those unspoken conversations, so to speak, happening between, these tiny little people. I think it's amazing.
When it was a friend of mine actually, when their child was born, she was adopted a language technique, and it's popped out my head, right? So forgive me, you might know what it is, but it was almost like sign language.
Oh, like Makaton.
Like Makaton, but it wasn't Makaton. It's another type, and I think that was like a drink, and it was whatever.
Yeah.
And what that was, that it was almost done straight away from when the child was born. So they'd just say, and when for the time they put a drink down, it would be drink, or it would be whatever it was, and so before you knew it, the child was saying drink like that, because rather than crying,
they was able to actually tell you what they want.
Right. Yeah. And so when I was because I was really interested around the sensory thing that you were doing, and I thought, I wonder if it's all based around that same sort of thing, which is they're now learning how to communicate with materials or with each other or whatever, and it's by the way, it's okay to do whatever, like you said. I'm going to cover myself in glitter, it doesn't really matter. And but there is that thing around that small child cannot communicate at all, and so therefore they're going to cry or laugh, probably about it, or sleep. But they might need something. They might be hot, might be cold, might be hungry, might be whatever. It just gave them the ability to be able to do it. So I'm wondering whether or not, and I think probably because your business is reasonably new, is that there might be some study later to say, look how well these children are doing now.
I'd love that. Absolutely would love that. I know how incredible the messy play side of it is and how much kids get from it, but if you've never experienced it, it can sound like, really, you're putting kids in paint and just like, and that's helping them, and you don't know it until you see it. So I'd love for, in the future, however many years and whatever I'm doing at that point, that people can see that yes, this did have an impact, and this continues to have an impact, and children that were exposed to these kind of experiences have able to be more confident or be less anxious, less nervous children. Like, all of these things, I would love for that to be something that came about, and people will be able to go, oh my gosh, yeah, that's amazing. Like, get all your kids to class now, like,
absolutely.
come and enjoy it.
It might change the shape of play school, perhaps.
Yes, I think a lot of, like I say, as a nanny, I am very conscious that I don't want them to be sat down doing. We're not going to sit down right now and do 10 minutes of learning our letters, or 10 minutes. We go to soft play. We go to baby classes. We do a baby signing class, which is amazing. And from being 18 months, my two boys that I have could ask for a drink without telling me verbally.
How would they do that?
So that's please and thank you, but that is drinking Makaton, but it is also like really obviously having a drink, or that they would take me to something and they'd start signing please, which just meant I want that. But I'm using my manners, but I want that. And they still do it now. They'll still sign things for me now. We learn what a helicopter and aeroplane was, and if we ever see them when we're out, it's like drop everything to helicopter, like, and it's that excitement of still being able to communicate. I know that has helped them because they were able to not feel so frustrated about things. I would love for that to also be messy play or messy babes at one point, that we can say, yeah, my kid went to that class, and I know that means he doesn't mind getting mucky now. He's not as anxious about the outcome of things, or you know, he's confident around other children because he did all these classes as a kid. And I would absolutely love that eventually.
Okay. So the vision is that I think is it to get like your own building? Is it?
I would love
is that the idea?
Yes, absolutely. Because as great as it is having, like, I've got one in Latchford and one in Stockton Heath, so I'm kind of being able to get parents from different sides of the water, so to speak, in Warrington. The having to transport everything everywhere is hard. So I have trays, the big trays that live at both halls, so I don't have to move them around. But all of my other apparatus that I use, all the tools, the toys, everything, that has to get moved between halls twice a week. So I have to pack it all up after Monday, and then it all comes to my flat, which is not a big space. Yep. It all lives in my living room until Wednesday, and then it repeats itself again. And luckily I don't have children of my own, because it just wouldn't happen otherwise. But the main goal would be to have somewhere that's Messy Babes HQ. That is where the classes happen. And then eventually that would mean I could do other classes of different ages. I'd love to be able to do like ones for, I'm so interested in like play therapy and that kind of thing, and I haven't got any qualifications in it myself, but would love to look into that further and how much that helps older children as well. And I had a mum that came to class a few months ago, and she is a play therapist, and the stuff that she posts on social media is so amazing. And just, you know, things that I use, such as like shaving foam in the tray. They love mark making in the shaving foam, putting on the face, everything. That can help an older child be able to tell you something that they don't feel like they can tell you, because while their brain's thinking about drawing in the shaving foam, their mouth's telling you what they don't want to, if that makes sense. So it's almost like they can let that out a little bit whilst they're playing, and that can carry on then to help you have those conversations. And I'd love for things like that to be a part of Messy Babes as well, that you could come and do a Messy Babes class, but we also have a play therapist on site who could offer support in that sense. Or I've got an amazing lady who does can't think of the word now, sleep training. So she comes to class with her son, and she also comes to class and does chats with parents every couple of months as well. So she's coming in December to come, and she just basically, she gets stuck in, she plays with the kids, talks to the parents, but offers these advice about the sleeping and stuff. And I'd love for that to be, you know, to have a room maybe that we alternate different people, so you can come to Messy Babes, but you can also access support with your child's sleep, you can access support with your child's additional needs or their mental health, and have that. Messy Babes has started as a kids class, but I don't want that to be where it ends. I want it to be a lot more of a child as a whole being, not just the child playing. But that's, I say it and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, let's do it. And I think, whoa, that's a lot of work. Like,
well, the best way to start. Look, the best way to start is, and again, why do people come on the podcast is because they have something to offer.
Yeah.
And as I said, they're on their own, and they have something to offer. And there'll be people who are listening to this who might offer that time to you know, in order to be able to get it through. So that's that shout out for the play therapists who are listening, who might want to help for a day, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's where it's going to start, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that we'll make sure that we highlight that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Jess, shall we? Because you're young. Takes a lot of nerve to do what you're doing, and you're also a nanny as well at the same time. So, but if we start with Jess, so where are you from?
From Warrington, so originally from Stockton Heath. I now live in Latchford.
That's
why my venues are where they are. That's the area of Warrington I know.
And what were your interests as a youngster then?
As a kid, I either wanted to be a vet. I was obsessed with animals. I mean, still am obsessed with animals, but do not have the emotional stability to be a vet. I could not do all of that, nor the intellect of biology and all the rest of it. And I was a dancer from 7 till 20. So that was, I wanted to do that, essentially. I wanted to either have my own dance studio or I auditioned for like the Disney cruises and all that kind of stuff. But as I said, sort of the me now and the me however many years ago, I had no confidence in myself at all in that. I love dance, like, and still do love it, but I had no confidence in to push myself for that, so I kind of let it dwindle out a bit, and that's how I ended up in childcare, because it seemed like something that I was naturally very good at, was working with kids. And so it kind
And how did you discover that?
So I've got younger siblings, I've got younger cousins, so it's kind of always oh, Jess, there you go. Like, you can play with your sister or whatever. But it was just, so I originally was in high school and someone came in to talk about a respite charity that they were running that offered parents respite for their children with additional needs. So it was a holiday club. They dropped their kids off in the morning and then the kids would have a whole day with trained staff who could offer all of these experiences for them while their mum and dad had a break. Because, I mean, being a parent, I can't even imagine how hard it must be, but being a parent of a child with additional needs is like that times 1,000. You don't ever get that 10 minutes that you get with a neurotypical child. So I volunteered there at 15. And that was so children from 5 to 19, so obviously young adults by that point as well. So I volunteered there, and then I got a job as a play worker there as well when I finished high school, so sort of going into college. And I also worked at Build-A-Bear for like 3 years as well, which is kids on a different level. So it's just I've always been drawn to it, I guess, in some way or another.
So you had a natural feeling for it.
I think so, yeah, which is, it's a nice thing. People say I always seem like I just work well with children. It's not something that I feel uncomfortable around or awkward around. It's just, that's where I feel good.
But I think there is a vociferal thing.
Yeah.
You have some people act upon their gut feel and some don't.
Yeah.
You know? Jill Reeves was on, who's a reflexologist.
Oh, yeah,
and she was saying, she just had this natural pull to this type of therapy.
Yeah.
And she couldn't explain it. You know, she would look for signs, you know, for things, and just had this feeling, this is the way I need to go.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I'm doing, it's this.
Yeah.
And I just think people have their thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that is it, and you've found yours straight away.
I think so, yeah, I do think so.
But it's really important to do, especially if you're in business, you've got to enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got to have a passion for it, else there's no point.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's been definitely had sort of maybe the past 4 or 5 months has been a tough business kind of few months. We're very quiet in classes sometimes, and I'm trying to juggle, you know, working full time still and deciding. When I took on the second class, I dropped a day as a nanny, so I took a financial decrease kind of thing in my career that makes me money kind of thing, so that I could try and push more for class. So it's been a lot of, not struggling, I don't think that's the right word, but it has been challenging over the past few months. And I just think if I didn't love it the way I did, I would have done by now. I would have said, no, I can't keep going with this anymore.
Oh, that's interesting you say that. The amount of people we speak to, and it is hard. Look, it's difficult. Even when you look at things on Instagram, and people will only see the end goal. They won't see the struggle. It is there. And that's actually entrepreneurship. It grounds you, and it can be difficult. Yeah. Because, you know, you're trying to make your best, and you can doubt yourself.
Oh, 100%.
Because it might be, am I doing something wrong here, or what is it exactly?
That is the conversation I've had with one of the mums that came to class today, who's actually my old dance teacher from when I was in high school. So she now brings her little boy, which is amazing. Actually talking to him, being like, what am I doing wrong? Like, how am I, you know, over 2 years in, and I'm still struggling like it's the first month of business. Like, what's going wrong? And she was like, it's not, I don't think you're doing anything wrong. It's just things change constantly, and you've got to, I feel like I'm on that hamster wheel of it never ends. Like, when you think you've got a hold of something, it's like, oh, I can do Instagram now, or I've got a hold of this social media thing. No, you've not. Like, you've totally not. And you're relearning it all and trying to keep going with everything.
Well, I think the advice I can give you is to never forget the reason why you started in the first place, and stick to a plan. Yeah. And I'm not saying write down your 10-year plan. Some people are very good at that. I'm not. Right? I'm awful.
My week plan, maybe.
So I'm not sure that you've done the wrong thing. So what I mean by that is it's what you haven't done is committed to a lease. Yeah. In a building, where you're paying someone whose business that is. So in other words, their business is making money out of people to rent their space. Yeah. You're doing it in a church hall, which is a community-based environment, which is great, and it's transitional. So in other words, you can leave it, or you can go back to it. You know, you haven't. you're not constantly having to pay it. If you couldn't do it, then at least you haven't got a 7-month lease or a 5-year lease over your head at that point, right? And then what you're doing is building a model of what works and doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me, and from that you'll build your people. You know, they'll go, of course I'm going to go to Messy Babes, because it's obvious as the reason why we would do it. And you're going to have people who are pioneering in front of them. So in other words, the people who will be first adopters of what you're doing are the people who are leaving a legacy for those who then understand it. And it takes a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got to keep the faith on that. And I think ensuring that you've got an income where you know you can pay your bills, are you doing that through nannying?
Yes,
is actually the right thing to do. I mean, some people would just go and do it. And
I wish I could have been in that stage, you know.
But you got to build up to that.
Yeah.
You got to build up to it and have faith in the parents who are coming, because they can see it.
Yeah.
You see, and they'll pass that on to somebody else.
Yeah, definitely. Word of mouth is massive. When people say, "Oh, I've told my friend," I'm like, "Oh, thank you." It means a lot.
But don't doubt what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
Second, there's no reason for you to be doing it. Right? You should be like, I've got no. This is the only reason why you're worrying is because I'm assuming it's just because. How come? Should I be using paint, or should I? Was that okay? Did the parents get annoyed with me, or didn't they? And the parents will give you they will give you the benefit for that, right? So you have to maintain just that I am doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Just because other people haven't done it doesn't mean to say that I shouldn't be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I appreciate it.
So and I'm hoping that perhaps the community you've joined with Local Heroes will give you some support.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah.
So so as you went through life, then you found you had this gut feel. You know, you obviously say some folk are brilliant with animals. I'm awful. But you've gotten yourself there. Did you start childcare first and then get the idea? So what triggered the idea in your mind?
Yeah, so I was in nurseries for 4 years, and we used to put on, me and two of them now still my best friends, but they were also my colleagues at the time. We ran the room together. We used to put on stay and plays, so we'd basically do a little afternoon or a morning where we'd invite all the parents in with their kids, and it was like a little party kind of thing. So we'd do normally messy play trays like what I do now. We'd set up a couple of those. We'd have a little tea party, and we'd do all these themed, I love a theme, so we'd do all these themed like events. So we did like a summer party that we used to do every year, and the kids would all come in, and we'd have like a hook a duck station, and we'd have little present station, and it was amazing. And I absolutely loved doing them. That was one of the best things about my room at nursery, was these stay and plays. We were, parents would be like, "Oh, we love coming to these," and be gutted when they had to go to the next room and stuff. And then when I then left all of that, that's what I missed. I missed that playing with the children in those environments, but having their parents there with them as well, and having them being able to experience that alongside them. That's the part of childcare that I missed when I was fully out of it. And it was a case of, how do I get that without ever going back to a nursery? Because I don't want to be in that environment again. And slowly, that then became Messy Babes. It's that lovely little class feel that we used to get at nursery, but I'm now doing it on a bigger scale. Yeah. And that's kind of where it started.
Yeah. And then did you think, right, I just have to get some trays, got to get some materials.
Pretty much,
Whereabouts can I set this up? And you just went for it.
Pretty much, yeah. So I started in the April of 2022 buying stuff. So it was a lot of my own money at first, because I had no other income from class. So it was buying a lot of stuff and keeping it in my flat. And 2 months kind of putting it out on Facebook. I was trying to teach myself how to use Canva to make posters and leaflets and things, and contacting local venues and asking if they'd be interested. I had a few that were straight away were like, messy plate, no, I don't want that in there. It puts people off, I think, at first when I say it's a messy class. Everyone's like, whoa, no, don't bring that round here kind of thing. And then thankfully now the halls that I've got are slightly more accommodating. But so then by the July, that's when I launched and did my first class, was the 6th of July. So it was, from April to July, sorry.
How did you get people in?
It was a lot of social media. It was pretty much purely Facebook and Instagram at that point, and also so the cafe that I worked at the time allowed me to put some leaflets up in their like entryway bit.
Where were you working?
Jenny Wren's in Stockton Heath, the Pottery Cafe. So they were dead. The reason I chose a Wednesday as well was they didn't used to be open on a Wednesday, so I'd work there Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and the weekends, and then I'd do class on the Wednesday. So they were like, yeah, definitely, like, and they let me put the leaflets out, and they spoke to people. There was a lot of mums that came into Jenny Wren's that then came to class a couple of times and stuff as well. So, but it was a lot with social media. It was a lot of Facebook and sharing in all the local groups and all my friends sharing it and everyone getting sick of seeing it, but it worked. The first ever class we did was sold out, which was
that's amazing,
incredible. Yeah, but I feel it did set the bar pretty high, because then next week when we had 2 less, I was like, oh, I'm failing. Like, that's it. I was a one-hit wonder. It was one class and I'm out, but managed to keep the consistency. But yeah, that first class was incredible, and I've still got people now that came to that first class who have had more children who still come to class now, that are like 2 years on and they're still coming, and it's incredible.
Don't you find that that's though a credit, which is I will try again? So in other words, I'll buy that product again, because ultimately that's what it's about. Would you bring your child to another class? Number one question, yes. And then when you've had another child, would you bring them as well?
Well,
yeah. And if the answer was no, then you got to go, okay, we need to tweak.
Yeah.
But don't forget that you're pioneering something. It's not well known.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing is you're, as I say, you're relying on people who get it. But as the more it becomes known, the benefits of those little kids, you'll be fine. You know, you just got to keep the faith.
So. Yeah.
You got to keep the faith. And so when you move forward, then when are the classes? Are they every day?
No, so just Monday and Wednesday at the moment. So we have Monday 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. in Latchford, and then Wednesdays 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. in Stockton Heath.
Yeah.
So then I nanny then Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
So it's for. I can only really do it because of we have an hour class, but it's a 2-hour setup and a 2-hour takedown afterwards. So it's a whole morning essentially for just the one class. I can't do it around also nannying, so I nanny from 7:30 in the morning till 6 at night. So there's not really that flexibility within that element anyway.
But eventually you'll get that. You know, there's a point where here's your business here, and this is what you got to do for a living. And eventually,
they've got
that will.
You
make a decision at that point.
Yeah. That's what I would love to. That's what I am going to be eventually. I'm not sure when, but eventually it will be. There will be classes every day. There will be multiple classes a day. We tried it a couple of times doing. Doing a class in the morning, a class in the afternoon, and I loved it. I was exhausted, but I loved that, like having a new set come in the afternoon and stuff. But it just financially isn't feasible at the moment. But again, that would be something I would love to do. Is that it's Messy Babes all day, every day, and we do parties and stuff as well. So sometimes I get to do it at the weekend. And
great!
Yeah. Trying to juggle everything. I think is the hardest part at the moment, is juggling everything so that I don't burn out. I'm very conscious of not ever going back to that. It's that finding that juggle of everything whilst I'm still having to do everything.
There's a sweet spot though.
Yeah.
And I think that listen, the more you take on, the more complicated it gets.
Yeah.
But like I say, there's a local heroes community here for you who will gladly be able to help.
Thank you.
But also doing things one step at a time. As I say, if I could encourage you just to maybe take some time tonight. I think you put yourself under too much pressure. And just
people say that.
But I understand why, because you believe in Messy Babes, and you believe in regardless of that child, that they're going to have great time and it's going to benefit them in the future. You know,
Yeah.
it's real development skills. There's a lot about development.
Yeah.
So I was going to just encourage you to maybe tonight just write a couple of things down and maybe have them on your fridge or something. And it'll just help remind yourself as why you're doing it, and then maybe what your next goal is.
Yeah.
And then just work towards that, because otherwise you'll be trying to think of 15 or 20 things all at the same time. Does that
Guilty
make sense?
of that, definitely. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
I mean, you've got, as I say, you've got your income, so therefore, okay, box tick number 1, that's good. And then there's can I do an extra class somehow? Maybe I could get somebody to help me do it.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, I think with all businesses like this, the actual selling point is you.
Yeah.
You know, because you do bring that charisma to it, and you can see that you care about it.
Thank
you know,
you.
and so while you're sorting that model out, that model is you. So maybe you go, do you know what? I accept the fact that it's going to be 2 church halls 3 times a week for the next year, and don't beat yourself up about that. But from that, you're getting a grounding in a network. You're getting a grounding in what works and what materials work, etc., like that. So maybe have a think about that.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you.
No, you're more than welcome. There's there's a poem. I'm going to sound really geeky now. There's a poem where it says something like, care not the cost nor fear of pain, if success is you wish to gain.
That's nice. I like
and
that.
It's dare to be bold.
Yeah.
Dare to be brave. Dare to be. And that's it. And that's all it is.
Yeah.
And you'll have some pain and some doubt.
Yeah.
But you'll be fine at the end of it.
Yeah.
Just don't give in.
Yeah, that's what I've got to keep sort of in my mind at the minute is I'm not giving in on it. As hard as it might be, I've worked too hard to only work this hard. There's more yet.
No, there is. There is. And I think what you've got is a fantastic thing for those little ones. It really is. It's really inspiring.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
If anybody wants to reach out and help, or any parents whose child's been to your place already, to always feedback, you know, is always the ask, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, any word of mouth, anyone want to send a review, that kind of thing is appreciated beyond belief. That just getting in touch and seeing, you know, if they've enjoyed the class, if they're interested in the class, all that kind of thing is definitely is appreciated. Yeah,
absolutely. And fair play to you, Jess. I'm so pleased that you've come on.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's just, before we finish, where can people find you?
Yeah, so Facebook and Instagram are my main ones. So it's Messy Play, Messy Babes at Messy Play, both of those ones.
So is it at Messy?
Yeah, so at Messy Babes Messy Play is Instagram and Facebook. So our logo is a little purple colour and it has Messy Babes on it. We are the only one when you type in Messy Babes, thankfully. So both of those, that's how I do all my bookings at the minute, is all via Messenger and things, whilst I'm eventually setting up a website at some point to get that one thing off my to-do list.
Well, we could probably help you with that.
Oh, that would be amazing, because for everything I may be good at in this business, technology is not one of them. So just drop us a message on there, and we post pictures. I post pictures every single day of what we get up to, and it's such a good way of seeing what class is before you attend a class. You can give us a little follow on social media as well.
Okay, wonderful. Well, please don't give in.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for finding that little niche, which is I'm sure is providing so much value to people.
Yeah, thank you.
And it just leaves me to say, because it takes a lot of guts for what you're doing, you are a local hero, Jess. It's been an absolute delight to meet you.
Thank you so much.
And best of luck for the future.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.